Koopa Troopa asked, I have a question about Age of Calamity. In the end, where they all win against Ganon, don't they lose? And that's kind of how Breath of the Wild all started. So yes, Age of Calamity does not strictly follow the story of 100 years before Breath of the Wild. It's almost like a what if scenario. I like to think of it as like everything. Yes, Aggie changes it all. So it's not truly the story 100 years before Breath of the Wild, but it kind of starts that way. But the way I like to think of it, because there's people like saying like it's not canon, and if it is, I quit, and things like that. People are really mad about it. But I like to think of the debate of its canonicity. I'm making up words now. Is the same as if you're playing Twilight Princess, are you asking yourself, is Wind Waker canon? Because it's a split timeline, right?
Or that weird timeline you go to when you go to the Temple of Time and it's all frozen.
So it'd be like asking, like, well, playing Twilight Princess and being like, how does this make any sense? Because in Phantom Hourglass, the story was different before that.
Or
it's just that the timeline split, so they kind of run parallel to each other. But
the Dragon Break and Skyward Sword.
Sure, yeah, but it's in a case where this isn't really a Dragon Break in that it connects to Breath of the Wild. It's just that the egg did time travel and that caused a split. So they're parallel. So the event 100 years before Breath of the Wild, which if you really want to follow more closely, I suggest reading Creating a Champion because it's a really great book. But if
Wild Horse.
Wild Horse.
It's just been a while since I've seen her.
Sorry, she's great. That's true. She's wonderful as well. So it's not a one-to-one story, but it's a cool kind of still explore. It's still cool to be able to explore the world at that time, because at the very least the world, and we see all the villages and stuff like that. That's how it would have been 100 years before Breath of the Wild. So yes. I don't know if anyone has any further thoughts or wants to try explaining that better than I just did.
No, so like the way I look at it is, so the whole portal thing starts happening when Zelda uses the Triforce or whatever. When she's like trying to stop Ganon, then the Triforce shows up. And my thought is that since it gives you the wish, it grants the wish of whatever it is that your heart desires the most, or whatever weird way it's described in different Zelda games. And my thought was that going back in time was the way that it ended up saving Hyrule. It just wasn't her Hyrule. So like her doing that and using the power of Hylia and the Triforce is what kind of like forced Egg Boy to wake up and go through time and save everyone.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then maybe it wouldn't help the future, but it would create a world where there was peace in Hyrule again. And because by that point everyone's already dead anyways, right? Like in Age of Calamity, when it happened,
right?
Because
that start of that cutscene at the intro would be where the final memory is in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
at Ash Swamp.
So like,
where, it could have been a great opportunity for a level in that game, just like you against a jillion guardians.
Yeah,
they kind of have that, but
kind
of.
You would also have that feeling of dread every time you're in a big battle with Link. You're like, oh, is this where he dies? Is this where he dies? Is this where he dies? And then he finally dies, and you're like, no, I could have won if only I was a level higher. Yeah, it reminds me of all the people that tried playing Final Fantasy VII when it first came out, and one of the main characters dies. And there's always that one kid that would make up a lie. It's like, no, if you get her level really high enough, Sephiroth can't kill her. It's like, no, it's the story. There would be no game without that.
Yep.
Like, yeah. But anyways, I really like that. And that's the way that I started looking at it, was just that it was a split that was ended up being caused by her using the Triforce. Because I don't know if it's her power is just manifesting in the shape of a Triforce because she's Hylia, and Hylia guards and protects the Triforce and everything, or if it's the physical Triforce, because we don't necessarily see the physical Triforce. Like sometimes it's on Link's hand, like in Ocarina of Time, and it shows up on Zelda's hand and Ganondorf's hand, but Ganondorf's not really physical at that point. Link doesn't have it on his hand, and there's been Links before that didn't have it. Like the whole point of the Triforce quest in Wind Waker was that Link didn't, like, he wasn't born the hero. Like, he had to prove himself by finding, like, he literally had to go and find the different pieces to put the Triforce together. And Breath of the Wild, it doesn't really go into the Triforce that much. So would that be the physical Triforce, or do you think it's just the way her power is represented? Like when
that's a tricky topic because the Triforce seems to have sort of two different ways it's represented. One would be the physical items like we see in Wind Waker and like Zelda 1, where it's like a physical giant golden triangle that shows up.
Skyward Sword.
Like Skyward Sword and etc. Yeah. And other times where it's just like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, where it's just like, okay, it's this
it's a tattoo.
Innate power that dwells within the person, right? And I think the
maybe it's
Wind Waker, ironically, Wind Waker has both depictions. But I think the Triforce is a tricky concept because of that, and I feel like I could start like I could become a professor. I'm going to teach a class on this. But
so you hadn't thought about that? If it was physical or
I always thought it was more on the innate side, like it was an internal power rather than the physical object of it.
So just a visual representation.
But more, yeah, exactly. But that the way I had seen it was that probably in the years prior to Breath of the Wild, the royal family had the Triforce and it was passed through the royal family. But they didn't have a physical object for it. It was just they safeguarded it and kept the power of it within their bloodline that way. And it got passed on. I could be really really off the mark here, but yeah, that's but that's why I think it's not something that's out and about in the world like in other games, which is why it's almost never talked about. You don't hear people being like, "Oh, there was this war and people were fighting over it," or people want to try and find it and stuff like that. There's no mention of it like that in Breath of the Wild because probably the royal families had it for years and decades and generations leading up to the 10,000 year gap between the rest of the series and Breath of the Wild. So yeah,
when you were saying that, I
had my TED talk.
I had the stupid thought in my head of the dumb Yiga clan being told about this golden triangle, and then them just picturing it as like 3 giant piles laid out in the shape of a Triforce of bananas.
3 golden bananas?
No, like 3 piles of bananas that are just like piled up in the shape of a Triforce.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, banana.
But anyways, whose turn is it next? Wait, Rick.
Yes.
Do you think it's physical, or do you think it's just visual? The Triforce. What are your thoughts on that?
What, like,
like, is Zelda's power just representing itself in the shape of a Triforce because she gets her power from Hylia, or did she like unlock her?
No, she totally unlocked a she to me the way that it seems is that she unlocked access directly to the where the Triforce resides at the time. So if that's the spirit realm, whatever, then I would think that that's where the Triforce is locked down at the moment, because we all know that it is an actual physical object. So, she's. I would think the best way to keep it secure is keep it in there and then have a way of access from one of the royal bloodline, which would be Zelda. I mean, keep it away from Ganondorf, whatever. That would be the best way to get it done and not have any access. Like the Master Sword and its pedestal right there is, as we all know, with Ocarina of Time, that was a bad design in and of itself.
Just let this tree that can't move or do anything protect the sword.
Yeah.
But like, because they always hide it really in the sacred realm.
Defined design flaw though, Rick, like you mentioned, because it's like in that moment where Ganondorf is able to sort of circumvent events and get into accessing the Triforce, like there's so many games that have just built off like him just still having it from then in both Wind Waker and Princess. Like he kept it all that time, and like so it's Yeah, it's a design flaw for sure.
Yeah. You would think
I think they caught on by now.
you
but
would think it would be
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
hiding spot because it's like, oh, where's the best place we can hide this like limitless powerful item? And they're like, let's hide it in another dimension that you can only enter if you have these 3 things, and then you play this song that we're not going to teach anyone. Yeah, that would be pretty safe.
You
But
would
then it's
think that
like
would be a
it
good
gets stolen
safeguard.
from there like almost every game. So it's like
yeah, but then when you have two composer brothers that end up, those are 2 loose ends in that sense. He could go to them, and that's exactly what he did. Is like, hey, I'm going to interrogate these guys, even though it was fruitless for Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Wait, Ganondorf
I'm gonna
killed the
go-
Poe guys?
Go through.
Apparently, like they weren't keeping the relics, the or spiritual stones, very safe because like they literally started canning them out to whatever 10-year-old comes around.
They were
town.
going to eat them
Yeah,
too.
that's very true.
Like if they knew the significance of it,
But-
would they have given that to Link? They're
but
like,
did-
oh, this is the way to
Rick,
get in the Triforce.
did you say
There go.
Ganondorf killed the Poe brothers?
I said he interacted with them,
Oh.
interrogated them.
Is that said in the game?
I'm pretty positive that he. I can't remember if that's actually in the thing. I made a video on it a long time ago.
Like,
So
I believe
if
he would
I'm
have killed him.
speculating or saying anything that isn't canon, we're just talking here.
Yeah.
So
Because I
Yeah.
believe he would have
No, that's
killed
fair.
him, but I never put that together. But anyways,
It makes the most sense.
yeah.
All
All right,
yeah, he went around terrorizing everybody else. Why wouldn't he have done it to them?
Yeah. Tubes.
Mhm.
Me.
I don't feel like you would want to go on really long talking about that. So yes or no? Was it a physical Triforce, or did you think of it as just like visual for using the
Wait,
power?
you guys took a question, answered the question, started a new question, and kept talking, and you
No,
won't
that,
have
was
an
that not
answer?
part? Was that not the question? The Triforce? No, because the Triforce calls the time travel, sort of.
What even was it?
Oh,
The question was about
it was about the.
how this connected with the world.
Yeah.
Like it was not quite into the nitty gritty
Yeah.
specifics of the Triforce, but
Because I said I thought the Triforce was the
God.
reason time travel happened.
I mean, no, I don't have any big thoughts on this right now. I
All
can't
right.
give you a yes or
Well,
no.
I liked this question, and we kind of talked about it earlier when we talked about stuff that we liked or didn't like from the game. So I think it was Birdman asked it in the live chat
Bird.
about
Bird is
our
the word.
friend Astor. It says, yeah, where do you think, yeah, Birdman asked it, where do you think Astor lives? Because in Age of Calamity, it says that he came from a certain village in Hyrule. I'm thinking in Hateno village. So at first,
when does it mention that? I don't recall.
I don't know.
I don't
But-
recall where that's said.
My thoughts on Astor, like when you're like halfway through the game, because I don't recall that part either. I assumed he was sort of like 𝐓𝐼𝐻𝐿, to where he was just like I think the guide in A Link to the Past says 𝐓𝐼𝐻𝐿 is like a physical representation of a portion of Ganondorf's power that he's using to create this weird puppet thing and then guide it, whatever. Like sort of what he does with this is he does the same thing, but then he goes to Shadow Link in Four Swords Adventure. That Shadow Link in that
Right.
game's really just the evil power from Ganondorf trying to break free and stop Link. So I felt it was the same thing. But then at the end of it, because the whole time the Yiga, who are supposed to be these devout religious nuts that just love bananas and Ganon, even their leader and their most powerful warrior are kind of 50-50 on the whole Ganondorf thing by the time it ends. And Astor is the one who just like doesn't care. Like anything can happen as long as we bring Ganon back. But then even him at the end of it seems like he's afraid because Ganondorf starts taking over his body and using him. So that completely ruined my thoughts on 𝐓𝐼𝐻𝐿, because at first I was going to say he doesn't have a home. Like he was just a guy that was created like a puppet thing as like just a portion of the Calamity magic or whatever. But then, if that was the case, he wouldn't have been scared to get used by Ganon at the end. So, I don't know. I'm just gonna.
I'm trying to think of where. Do any of you guys remember where in the game it's mentioned that he comes from any village? Because I don't.
I think it's in like a little snippet, like in a loading section. They also explain like the timeline thing too. It says like a split world or fractured world, and then it will describe that Terrico going into the past. Splintered the timeline. I think it's something like that, where it's mentioned that he came from some town in Hyrule. I'm not 100%. But I believe that's where that's coming from.
That seems like some real pertinent information to just chuck in a loading screen, but all right.
They do that kind of stuff.
The runes, I think the Sheikah runes being usable by everybody is that's explained in the loading screen as well, being like, Tarako allows them to do that. It's like such a like throwaway thing. I would say if I had to pick a village, I want to say Kakariko, because I always got the impression he was some kind of Sheikah defector. And the reason he has the Gerudo symbol is because he just worships Ganondorf, and Ganondorf used to be a Gerudo.
So
but he definitely doesn't seem like a Gerudo himself. So it's all wishy-washy, though.
It's in the gallery.
I tried looking it up, and I couldn't find any websites in like the 10 seconds that I did that very strenuous, detailed research. But I did see something that made me remember. In Hyrule, not Hyrule Historia, the Breath of the Wild book. I forgot. I keep forgetting the name.
Creating Champion?
Yes, I keep wanting to say Masterworks because that's what I first learned it as. And then like a year later, when they made the English version, they changed it to Creating a Champion. So in it talks about a fortune teller that like tries to manipulate the royal family and then ends up getting kicked out or something like that. And that's never mentioned in the game. So first,
but even in that book, it basically says we don't really know. It's a theory that they did that, right?
But
so
it could be based off of that because he's like a fortune teller person in the game, and just like the Yiga were like bad Sheikah that broke off, it would make sense that they would also have, if there was like a bad fortune teller that got kicked out of the royal family's place, then it would make sense for, two people that don't like the royal family and want the bad guy to win would kind of work together. So, with that, I would say, like almost anyone that would have an important role with the castle, that he probably lived in the castle. Like most of the soldiers probably lived in the castle.
Right.
Or around Castletown, at least. Because if he was that important to where, like, the king, who apparently hates magic and Sheikah tech and everything, which this could be why he hates the Sheikah tech, is like, he just, it's like, he followed every word from this one guy and then found out, he's trying to bring back Ganon, not help me. So it would make sense for him to then hate everything Sheikah related. But I would imagine if there was someone that important to where they would call him in and listen to whatever he had to say on the future, that they would also allow that person to stay kind of close to the castle. Because you're not going to be going back and forth between like Kakariko Village and the castle every single day. Yeah. But maybe I'm just looking too much into it.
We all probably are. Yeah. That's what we do, isn't it?
Yeah. So what is your guys's?
Say again?
What's your guys' thought on it?
On where he comes from?
Yeah, where he lives or where he comes from or whatever. Because Daniel could be right. Like that could have been something that they just put in the book, not thinking of, and then they just based the character off of it.
Being frank, I haven't gotten past chapter 3, so I actually haven't seen too much involvement of him. He's basically like just introduced at this point, so I have zero opinion on him right now.
He's not as cool as the other Yiga because he's not obsessed with bananas, but
of course, that's an important detail.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard for me to make speculation about Astor because like there's just so little info. You know, like there's like it's like grasping at straws for me, and I yeah, it makes it difficult for me to like invest in any sort of theory because it's just as easy to say something completely the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus,
yeah.
there 100 years ago, there were a bunch of small villages that were destroyed in the process of all the guardians coming through. So even in this game, most of those villages were destroyed, and we don't play through a lot of those sections. So, and there's a bunch of stuff going on in the background. So I mean, any of those villages could have been where it came from because it just says a small village. Personally, if we're gonna have to like pick one, Lurlin, probably, because I would think that's if he's Gerudo, if he actually is Gerudo, then it would make sense that that's where any defectors would have ended up. And
Like
I've seen a lot of people make that.
Lurlin?
Or males.
They wouldn't be allowed to stay in Gerudo Town as a man, right? They would be
because the Gerudo would be like, last time we had a male leader, it didn't work out so well, so he's got to go.
Yeah, I could see just like with what is it? Was it Terrytown?
Mm-hmm.
Where we see that the Gerudo females go out and pick male Hylians. If there was a long enough span of time, you would think that the whole like male every 100 years would thin out, especially if none of the females that were born outside of Gerudo Town ended up getting sent back there to then commingle and then meet a different Hylian. So
that's true.
I mean, all that would thin out.
Like, I feel like that's something people really latch onto. Like it's every 100 years is a male born. That's something that's like a total like thing, like side note in Ocarina of Time from like a gossip stone.
Exactly.
That says that, but then in Breath of the Wild, all they say about it is it's extremely rare for a male to be born among the Gerudo. But there's no aside from that side note, it could have just been like an approximation, even, or like it's so rare you only really see it every 100 years or so. Like it could have been one of those approximation things, not like such a firm boom. Oh, Nintendo, someone who's pregnant right now.
Nintendo like, likes to use like 100 years as like a time frame. Like this game,
and not all of them are going to be Ganondorf either.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh God,
so
can you imagine?
So, what was it?
Yeah.
I love how everyone's ideas and theories on Age of Calamity was like, oh, they're going to go in depth on that ancient warrior tribe. What were they called again? The
Zonai?
Yeah, the Zonai. Everyone thought it was going to be about Zonai, and there's like nothing about Zonai in Age of Calamity.
That doesn't make sense though, like that people would think that ahead of time, because the Zonai stuff, like all their ruins, the implication in Breath of the Wild is that stuff was long before 100 years ago.
Yeah,
like we're talking 1,000 years back.
Yeah. My thought was that was a tribe that would have been wiped out in the first fight against Ganon 10,000 years ago, because that would be long enough for it to be ancient. But anyways,
maybe
another question.
I think is it Rick that gets the last question?
Yeah.
It would be me, I think. So
final question, Rick.
I'm gonna go with Fry Guy's question.
Oh, I know.
Which actor do you want to voice Ganondorf from Breath of the Wild 2?
I've seen this on Twitter.
So I've got two of these. I would like to see, and this is if all of the stars could align, either Mark Hamill or Ron Perlman.
So
I would love to see Ron Perlman voice Ganondorf.
Perlman, I remember seeing him on a bunch of people's casting for Ganondorf, like in a live action movie.
Okay.
He's got a real Ganon face about him.
I
see it.
He's got a real.
He's got a real Hellboy face about him.
Yeah. Really.
That's true.
No, that's true. Something about him just speaks demon. No, so I love that the joke question that we started it with, the whole podcast, was what we ended up ending it with.
Of course.
So Daniel, we're also curious. Who could you possibly want to voice?
I said this before. I jokingly before we started, I said Gilbert Gottfried because I just can't imagine a better world. But no, I don't think it should actually be Gilbert Gottfried. Obviously, as hilarious as that would be, it should be John Mulaney. No, it should not be. I'm joking. I actually think it would be really cool if it was like an unknown actor who got to like step into the role. Like you see so many games right now. This is like a weird cop-out answer. I'm so sorry, but you see a lot of games right now where they bring in like a celebrity actor. We even saw like at the Game Awards, they're like this whole game. They're like, this is the Vin Diesel show, everybody. And I feel like a lot of games lately have kind of been using that as a crutch to bring in like a celebrity to like promote the game and like be a central part of the game, right? And so I just really think if we had to pick a voice actor for Ganondorf, like just let it be some awesome fans breakout role that he's so excited to be a part of rather than phoning in a celebrity performance. That's just me. Either that or Gilbert Gottfried.
I just feel like it would be, no matter who it was, they would end up having a deep voice like how the Deku Tree. But even Sean doesn't have that deep of a natural voice, because like when he's playing Rivali and Tiba, it's like it sounds like two completely different characters. So
yeah.
So I'm over here really excited.
Yes.
I have.
Shoots.
I have. Okay. So
tell us about Adam Sandler's funny
note,
voice.
On Daniel's note of not picking someone that's famous,
Mm-hmm.
someone that doesn't already have that Hollywood, pizzazz.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if this person's a fan. You guys probably won't know of him, but he is a corpse husband, and he plays lots of Among Us with offline TV. So there's like Lily Pichu, Pokimane, Valkyrie. They've been playing with like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye lately. But he has the most incredibly deep voice ever. I will have to send a clip to you guys later because it is like I've never heard a voice this deep.
What happened? Sorry, everybody.
He back.
Here, I have a clip that I'll send to you guys.
So when you said corpse husband, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of the husband from
Of a corpse?
The Corpse Bride.
Corpse Bride, the movie?
Yeah.
No, not that one.
I was like, I could see that guy, but I think he is a professional voice actor because he was in a big movie. But yeah, so I think a lot of people would have that feeling that like, oh, Ganondorf should have a deep voice. So they would think of someone with a nice deep voice. But then I thought about how like Sean did the Deku Tree. And that was a deep voice.
Well, I mean, they just have to bring the deepness to the performance. They don't, like a lot of voice actors, their natural speaking voice is not really often how the character really sounds.
Yeah. So my answer is
wouldn't have Suga.
My answer is quick. What? Discord.
He's not okay.
Why you do this to me, Discord?
Oh no.
Good thing we're about to end it.
It's that one problem, it's another with us, eh?
So, I was gonna say I would think it would be Benedict Cumberbatch because he does the voice for the talking dragon dude in Skyrim.
That
Not
is
Skyrim,
Charles
what?
Martinet.
No, he does the
In
voice
Skyrim?
for a dragon.
Oh,
yeah,
in
he does
The
that
Hobbit.
in The Hobbit?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Skyrim, that's
Same
Charles
thing.
Martinet.
Martinet does the Skyrim dragon?
Yes, the voice of Mario plays the talking dragon in Skyrim, and it's amazing.
Another example of someone doing great high voice and great low voice.
That is great.
You didn't know that.
He
That's
needs to
Charles
play
Martinet.
Ganondorf. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh my
sure.
god.
No,
Charles
'cause-
Martinet is gonna be Ganon.
Yeah, so someone said that on Twitter, but I think they said it as a joke. But then it reminded me that he voiced like a deep talking dragon before, and I was like, I know that's a joke answer, but I like it. But
I love him.
I pick the other dragon dude.
The other
Cumber
dragon
pickle.
dude.
Yeah.
Benefit
Guy with
cucumber.
the face.
Has
Do
anyone
you have a
not
problem
went?
with Cumber Pickle as the name that you want to say cucumber instead?
Yeah, I do. Oh no.
I started calling
laughed too
Canada
hard.
Canada.
I unplugged.
So, all
I unplugged my headphones by laughing too hard.
right. So has anyone not answered the final question? No.
Nope.
All right. In that case, everyone, thank you for watching, and our guest of today, Rick. Where can people
Yeah,
find?
Rick, thanks for hanging out for so long.
Yeah. Where can people find more of you?
Thank you guys for having me. You guys can all find me at on Twitter at @RMFHGaming and over on YouTube just RMFH. I'm currently doing a Zelda timeline playthrough, so we're starting from the top and working our way through the entire Zelda timeline. I stream on YouTube Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if y'all want to come on over and join me there, like I said, I do that on Tuesdays. We're currently on a Link Between Worlds right now, so going down the Downfall route at the moment. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I don't comment on those streams, but I will put them on sometimes while I'm editing, or I'll put one of Daniel's old streams on and just have like background noise while I'm editing.
Nice.
So it's really nice. And
Been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so go check out Rick's channel. And Daniel just released a video that had a lot of Rick in it. So
It did. It's probably one of my
I was
best
also
videos, and it's all thanks to Rick. Honestly, the video would be only half as good as it turned out if Rick hadn't helped him with that.
So where could people find your channel if they wanted to go check that out, Daniel?
Yes, everything is Capt Bergerson, CaptBurgerson. Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, etc. YouTube. Yeah, like I mentioned, my last video, I've been wanting to do more of these. My video is called Hyrule Tours, which is just really like an appreciation video of how beautiful Breath of the Wild is. But I do other videos occasionally as well about just like random stuff or just crapping on theories or sometimes making theories and stuff like that. But we have a lot of fun, and I do stream on Twitch every Tuesday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time as well. We're in the midst of playing through Age of Calamity on my stream, so it's a good time. But spoilers, of course, because we're playing a game and it's fairly new and all that, and then we're just powering through it. Well, not really powering through it. I'm taking my sweet time with it actually because there's so much content. But yeah, and definitely go watch that video with Rick. It should be like my first one when you go to my channel. And he helped so much, not just with narration and the script and stuff, but also capturing probably the best footage that's in that video was all thanks to him. So it's
not
yes,
at all.
it's chef's kiss, beautiful.
So serious question about Hyrule Tours.
Mhm.
Are you going to redo certain areas to show off what it used to look like in Hyrule Warriors?
Undecided yet. Because I think some of the more interesting areas I'd like to, we didn't really get to see in Age of Calamity. And a lot of the in Breath of the Wild, if there's an area I want to go into and like record good footage for, if there's an enemy that's like in the way or something, or in the way of the shot, or sometimes I'll just put on Majora's Mask and so that he doesn't bother me or whatever, and I can have him in the clip or whatever. But sometimes I'll just kill the enemies, take the loot, move it out of the way or whatever, and then record the footage I need. And in Age of Calamity, there's too much going on that I don't know if I could do that without just there being 100 bokoblins in the way of the scenery. Like the whole point of those videos are supposed to be very calm and relaxing videos. That just an Age of Calamity is anything but calm and relaxing.
You really need like the stone mask from Majora's Mask, where you're just invisible.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, they're a lot of fun to make. Those videos, they take ages to get all the right footage and to decide on what to show and stuff. But I really enjoy doing those ones. And actually, Jesse was also in another one. So if you guys like him talking, he was in my previous one before I had Rick in too. So and also Geek was in another one of those. So I'm collecting the whole set here.
No tubes. He hates
no
me.
tubes. I gave you a 45-minute video.
That's true.
All right, Troops. I'm sure a lot of people have noticed you've had some Age of Calamity Let's Plays going on my channel.
Absolutely. So, if you guys want to find me, I'm on Twitter mostly at 𝐓𝐲𝐲𝐬, and I've also been streaming on twitch.tv/𝐓𝐲𝐲𝐬 with an extra A because I can't get the old 𝐓𝐲𝐲𝐬 back. She's dead. And yeah, if you guys haven't noticed, I've actually been taking my clips, sending them to Jesse, and uploading them to the YouTube for those of you that are wanting to see some gameplay. I know Jesse's been in a weird place lately, so he can't really play it for you just with his hand thing.
I can't press
I figured
buttons.
so I figured that I would just take my stuff, we'd move it over, so that way you guys have some sort of gameplay that you can start watching. I apologize in advance. I'm not the most appropriate when I stream. I definitely made a comment about how all of the Gerudo are probably on the same period schedule. It's awkward and uncomfortable. I'm sorry. But that's where you can find me.
All right, so at 𝐓𝐲𝐲𝐬, at 𝐅𝐵FHGaming, and at Danengorf. At 𝐾aptBurgerson.
Bergerson.
So everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying an hour longer. Tubes.
Oops.
No problem.
And yeah, Rick, thank you for coming on after just mentioning it to you a few days ago. And Daniel.
Yep.
Thank you for just being you.
Oh, Jesse, thank you for bringing us all together.
That's it for now, but a lot of rumors, news, and details are slowly leaking out. So please, stay subscribed and notified, and join our Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 news. And you can find our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐽𝐠, here on YouTube and on iTunes, where we have had many guests who have worked on the Zelda series, and have shared a lot of amazing stories about voice acting, such as Patricia Somerset voice acting as Zelda, Mike Drucker on Zelda's writing or translation team, coming up with the jokes in the game, stories behind the names of characters that he created. Please subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you. If you are a fan of our Zelda videos like this, Zelda Theories, our Zelda podcast, the 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐽𝐠 on iTunes, we would all really appreciate your support at patreon.com/GameOverJesse. That and buying our t-shirts will get you and your YouTube or Twitch a shout out every week on our 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐽𝐠. And if you send in a photo of yourself in our Game Over Jesse or 𝐈𝐧𝐬𝐭𝐽𝠂cast t-shirt, we can use it for promotion at the end of some of our videos.